and you'll use shampoo on your head. It'll make you not a little stinky boy anymore. I think the main thing about Asmongold is you're not scary, man. You're not scary. You're a fucking disgusting slob who sits in your house all day in filth. You don't scare me. And I don't even think your fans really are that passionate about you. They just see your space as a space where they can get the worst parts out of themselves and have fun doing it. But they're not really like, come on, man. You know what I'm saying. It's a space they could exist without feeling like a piece of shit. They could be a piece of shit and not have and feel good about it. That's all your stream is, man. All right, let's move on to the next more annoying person. Oh, we have a hype train. Holy shit, we have a hype train. Thank you guys for starting the week out with the hype train. Remember, the top sub gifter and the top bit donor get those hype train conductor badges. The early morning hype trades are usually the best place to get those. I'm
absolutely stunned that the city that is famous for being terrorized by Islamic terrorists is on the cusp of electing Islamic extremists who is chanting globalized intifada as its mayor.
I'm gonna make a TikTok about my Lindy Lee story. I need to make a TikTok of my Lindy Lee story because goddamn is she the biggest fucking loser. It's so funny.
That for me is just jaw-dropping. This is 24 years after 9/11. And it just completely blows my mind that this is
I'm just curious, is there a day you wake up where you don't see terrorism everywhere? Because you literally just implied that this guy's a terrorist. And I found that bigoted, Islamophobic, and absolutely disgusting. If you don't like his policies, I can understand that. And we can have a discussion about those policies. But it seems like you just have a problem with the fact that he's Muslim. You have a problem with the fact that he looks a little different from other previous leaders. Don't interrupt me. I'm still speaking. I didn't interrupt you. Listen, the problem with that mayoral race is that the Democratic candidates who ran against him in the primary offered nothing. They offered nothing but the status quo. Andrew Cuomo was the former disgraced governor of that state who somehow thought that he had, I don't know, the entitlement to have his past erased and that people would totally accept him again. I'm really happy to find that the people of New York City rejected him because he's a complete and utter disaster. Now, as it pertains to Mamdani, we should actually talk about what he focused on as he was campaigning, because he actually did run a fantastic campaign. Even if you don't agree with his policies, he reached out to Trump voters in New York City and tried to figure out, hey, what is it that made you vote for Trump?
Oh, by the way, chat, that was... We actually watched that video. Zohran's talking to Trump voters. Hold on, let's see if we can find this. It's impossible to find things searching now. How is it possible that Google is this much worse? Jesus fucking Christ. It's crazy how Google is actually this much more of a dog shit.
Did you get a chance to vote on Tuesday?
I didn't vote.
And why did you not vote?
Because I don't believe in the system anymore.
And did you get a chance to vote on Tuesday?
Yes!
And who did you vote for?
Trump!
The $1 million question. Trump.
Trump.
Donald Trump. I actually early voted. I voted for Trump.
Honestly, I didn't vote.
She voted for Trump.
I voted for Trump.
I voted for Trump.
Me too.
Before I voted Democrat, at this moment I voted Donald Trump.
Hillside Avenue in Queens and Fordham Road in the Bronx are two areas that saw the biggest shift towards Trump in last week's election. Even more residents didn't vote at all.
They like Trump because they don't want the Palestinian, the brothers, they killed. The war in Ukraine, the Democrats giving all the money and the war, this is no good.
The swing is because people want lower prices. They probably believe that Trump would give them that.
Market price all around.
Energy, gas.
La comida. Food.
Most of these people are working families. They're working 1 to 2, 3 jobs, and rent is expensive. Foods are going up, utility bills are up.
And that's your hope, to see a little bit more of an affordable life?
Absolutely.
What Trump did in the first 4 years, Fordham Road saw something where Kamala couldn't do that.
There were young voters who didn't vote for her because of the genocide, and I wouldn't have voted for her if I did, but I did vote for her, obviously, because I have common sense.
Can you tell me a little bit more about why you didn't vote?
Since you're out here, Gaza, who should I vote? Either side will go ahead, send bombs from here to kill my brothers and sisters.
Palestine issue, and then other issue is like Russia and then Ukraine. He stopped that war. That's why I bought him.
You can't say you're a Democrat.
I can't believe the Democrats have become the Hawk Party because they want, like, they're like, Jeb Bush gets fucking humiliated and the Democrats are like, we need to bring in Jeb Bush in the Democratic Party. The motherfucker has no support, you lunatics. Donald Trump got the posture as the peace candidate. This is crazy. This is crazy.
And stand for the genocide that's going on in Gaza, period.
Practically, I like Democrat. I like Democrat, but I don't like this. Gaza, a lot of people have died.
Have you voted for Democrats in the past?
I have.
And what would it take for you to vote for a Democrat in the future?
Being able to pay attention to the regular Americans and their economic needs.
They should make economics the forefront of their campaign. People were not really feeling it in their pocket.
I voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. I voted against Trump also in the 2018 midterms. Insulting us, playing on our emotions. All they do is shame you, and they just want to use like glitzy campaigns, and they get celebrities. And
Like, if you're speaking the things that people want to hear about, I don't care what color you are, I'll vote for you.
We have a mayor's race coming up next year, and
Open presents with the 100 bomb. Let's fucking go. Open presents. Who is going to challenge open presents? Where are my Oilers at? You're going to let this person come in and just slap you guys around and take the #1 spot without a fight? You're going to be like, where's your pride? Just go in, you drop 101 subs, and open presents says, he got beat. Ben Shen, thank you for the 5. I think you're not quite there yet. Let's keep going.
if there was a candidate talking about freezing the rent, making buses free, making universal childcare a reality, are those things that you'd support?
Absolutely. He'd have my vote all day.
We need childcare that is affordable. Buses should be free. The hike in the Metro cards is like totally unaffordable.
My name is Zohran Mamdani. I'm going to be running for mayor next year.
Wow.
Yes,
wow.
yes, sir.
Wow.
And I'm going to be running on that platform. Thank you.
I'm going to vote for you. Your energy is...
Thank you, thank you. My energy is getting up to inflation.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this was November 15th of last year.
Did you get a chance to vote on Tuesday?
I didn't.
Ladies and gentlemen. And so that brings me over to what I needed to show you from the TikTok I made yesterday. I made a TikTok yesterday,
reduced
chat.
crime by 9.
Okay, dude. And I want you to see it.
There is no more.
Because if you think your vibes are good now, wait till you see these fucking vibes.
There is no more debate on how to beat Trump. Zohran Mamdani proved it. I'm about to show you the most important chart I've seen in politics all this year. And it answers the question that every single liberal leftist has been asking. How do we get young people more involved? How do we beat Trumpism? Look at this. There was an absolute wave of young people that finally showed up in the New York City mayoral election to elect Zohran. Look at these numbers. It's broken down in 5-year blocks. And you can see 18 to 24-year-olds were the largest group of voters.
Look at this, guys. Like, legitimately. So this is the 2021 mayoral Democratic primary. There were around like 40,000 people who voted who were 18 to 24-year-olds. This primary, 120, 130, may even be more than triple. More than triple. Mike, will you be doing? I would love to talk to One Dime about this. The reality is that Bernie Sanders didn't lose by that much. I want to say this again. Bernie Sanders did not lose by that much. Bernie Sanders tried to achieve this, but he didn't quite get there. If you look at this, 18 to 24-year-olds are the largest group of voters. Second largest group of voters, 25 to 29-year-olds. Third largest group of voters, 30 to 34-year-olds. It's only then that we're getting the 35 to 39 is on the same level as 60 to 64. This was a generational sweep, and I actually think Zohran's got room to grow because a lot of the elder millennials, they agree with him. They're just not as much on TikTok, so they might not have been sucked in as much. TikTok and some of the short form social media that Zohran did so well in, that is actually something that is more indicative of younger generations. And so actually elder millennials are the most left-wing generation, period. So I actually think he's got room to grow from here. This is kind of it was kind of a disappointment among elder millennials. They were they were a little bit better than they were in 2021, but not as much as the young people. This chart is fucking insane. Like, they increased youth turnout by 300%. This is a mind-boggling number. Like, what? Huh? Like, this doesn't even compute. I think people are in denial.
There were almost double as many 18 to 24-year-olds as there were 65 to 69-year-olds. This is a earthquake. We've never seen anything like this. And if you compare it to the 2021 Democratic primary for mayor in New York City, you can see that they almost tripled the number of young people, 18 to 24, who showed up. And this is an earthquake. It answers every question. If you want young people to turn out, if you want to make the Gen Z and millennial generation the generation that determines our politics, you have to run a bold, progressive, unapologetically pro-Palestine campaign. Zohran has proved it. It is showing right here that American politics is about to change as long as we have the candidates we deserve. There is
this is like mind-boggling. Like, this is like when people talk about increasing turnout, usually they talk about 10 to 20%. A 300% increase is insane. And if you're not already freaking out over seeing that, if you're not freaking out seeing that number, you literally do not understand elections. You do not this is unbelievable. This is make-believe. This is a dream. This is not just something that exists in a small space. Like, oh yeah, he increased youth turnout by 300%. He increased youth turnout by 300%. You should be freaking the fuck out. It's monumental. It's unbelievable. Like, this is the most hope core shit I've ever seen in my life. You're not reacting hard enough. You should be fucking running around the room screaming. This is so good. Most insane reaction on left wing. You don't give a fuck about homeless people, as made evidence by the use of them this abstract as a rhetorical tool. I hope that they gut you and play with your organs for fun. Shut the fuck up. Who taught you to speak to what? Suki's mom is actually kind of. I think they're. Wait, what the fuck? Am I not following WopGop? Okay, Twitter's UI is just broken. Suki's mom is your brain on Settlers. Suki's mom is your brain on Settlers, which is why I had that crash out the other day when people were like, Mike, what do you think about Settlers? This is your brain on Settlers. Also, it's so funny that TYT got fucking owned. TYT fell for the bubble. TYT bought Trumpism at the high point. They bought Trumpism. It's like buying MILF coin at the peak. Those dumb fucking pieces of shit. And they crushed TYT because guess what? Nobody on the right bought their shit. Everybody on the left hates them now. Fucking dumbasses. All right. Zohran did a bunch of interviews and he went on Meet the Press, which if you don't know what Meet the Press is, this is probably one of the most prestigious news talk shows from television. I don't think as many people watch TV anymore, so it's not that big a deal. But this is considered to be like the show. This is like, if you're in politics, this is like the equivalent of having a segment on Hassan's stream. All right, for a left winger. All right, like this is the shit for TV. Okay. This is like Hassan traveling to your city to campaign with you.
Welcome back. A stunning political upset this week in the race to lead America's biggest city. 33-year-old Democratic social.
Did I debate Benjamin? Not yet. I kind of am busy with my life, and I saw their dumb fucking posts, and it made me mauled because I think there's this like, and I also blame Chapo for this, but there is a certain type of person who is like, oh no, Bernie didn't win. Oh, we can never win. It's overdetermined. Oh, it's impossible to win anything. And it's like very sad and pathetic of a belief. We were not that far behind. We were pretty close twice. Bernie Sanders, I like him, but he wasn't that good. AOC has a lot of things to get better at. Zohran's going to help her get a lot fucking better. It's actually like Bernie Sanders' idea of getting young people to turn out at a higher rate actually is not a bad idea. His attitude of we should turn toward the apolitical is not a bad idea. He just wasn't able to pull it off all in one campaign. And the country wasn't quite at the point yet where it was ready to absorb his ideas. We needed to fully discredit centrism. The Joe Biden presidency probably needed to happen. The Keir Starmer prime ministership probably needed to happen. The Macron presidency probably needed to happen. We needed to see neoliberal centrism and capitulationism fully discredited. I was here. I knew that we were all going to fail, that centrist Democrats were going to fail. I knew it. I was here. But a lot of other people needed to see it. Because people don't want to fight. People do not want to be disruptive. They don't want to be confrontational. So they need to try everything. Unless you're a sociopath, you have to expend all other avenues of recourse before you fight. And now we're in there. We have seen it. It's discredited. Honestly, it's what happened in 2024 was the best thing that could have happened for our movement. Joe Biden had to be fully discredited. Kamala Harris had to be given her shot and lose. Because if she didn't, she would have been hanging over the fucking Democratic Party like a fucking ghoul. And she would have been the clear front runner, and it would have been the most annoying rad lib bullshit. We needed her to lose. We had to see her fucking lose for the left to really be able to have a shot at taking the Democratic Party. The way is open. Everything that I said would happen has happened. My accelerationist strategy worked. Suck my dick. I will never apologize. Do I think Zohran would have won if Kamala won? Absolutely not. She would have been campaigning for fucking Cuomo. She would have campaigned for Cuomo. She would have endorsed Cuomo. She would have had a joint endorsement with fucking Bill Clinton. And Zohran, as much as I love him, would not have beaten that.
And New York State Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani is poised to win the Democratic primary for New York City, beating out former Governor Andrew Cuomo. He's now set to head to the general election, but his likely primary win is already sending shockwaves through the Democratic Party. And joining me now is Zohran Mamdani. Mr. Mamdani, welcome to Meet the Press.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. There is so much to discuss. We have to start with your remarkable victory in the primary for mayor. You're 33 years old. As I just said, you started out at close to 0% in the polls, Mr. Mamdani. You came back to topple one of the biggest names in New York politics, Andrew Cuomo. What was the secret to your success? Do you think it was your message? Do you think that voters were voting against Andrew Cuomo? A little bit of both? How do you see it?
I think ultimately it was the focus on the fact that we live in the most expensive city in the United States of America. It's also the wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, and yet 1 in 4 New Yorkers are living in poverty, and the rest are seemingly trapped in a state of anxiety. And what we've seen is that this is a city that needs to be affordable for the people who build it every day. Our focus was on exactly that, and by keeping that focus on an economic agenda, we showed New Yorkers that this could be more than just a museum of what once was. It could be a living, breathing testament to possibility.
Well, let me ask you about what I was just discussing with Senator Chris Murphy. The fact that you have leaders Schumer, leaders Hakeem Jeffrey, who wrote very nice things about your victory, said you'd won a very strong campaign, have not endorsed you. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has endorsed you. Do you think the Democratic establishment is afraid of you?
I think that people are catching up to this election. This is an election that went against so much of the analysis that had been told about our party and where we needed to head to. And ultimately, what we're showing is that by putting working people first, by returning to the roots of the Democratic Party, we actually have a path out of this moment where we're facing authoritarianism in Washington, D.C.
Well, let's talk about your policies, your vision for this city. Here are some of the things you've proposed: free buses, rent-stabilized housing, a $30 minimum wage, the creation of city-owned grocery stores. It's a very long list of proposals. So let me ask you, if you were to be elected the next mayor of New York, what would your day one priority be?
The first thing is living up to these promises that I've made, because I've made them because I intend to keep them. And in a city of about 8.5 million people, close to 2.5 million New Yorkers live in rent-stabilized housing. The mayor, through a board called the Rent Guidelines Board, sets whether or not those rents increase or stay the same. The previous mayoral administration froze the rent 3 times. This one, led by Mayor Adams, increased it by 9%. So the first thing that I would do is start to constitute a board that votes in reflection of reality. And the reality I'm speaking of is that the median household income of those tenants is $60,000 a year. The landlords of those units have seen their profits increase by 12%. It's time for relief for working class New York.
Well, no. You see, the landlords need to have their profits increase by even more. And then they're going to say, you know, I'm so tired of all these profits. I need to build more housing. I need to get, I own this monopoly and it's causing me to make money hand over fist with no additional work. But you know what I need to do, guys? I need to increase the supply of housing to lower my rents. See, chat, we call this problem also exists. This is why minimum wages do not cost jobs as well. Because oftentimes employers get into a situation of a monopsony where they are the only buyer of labor, right? That's what monopsony means. So it's a monopsony related problem where you're the only buyer, right? If you start offering more money for the next marginal worker, all your existing workers are going to see that and they're going to demand higher wages themselves. So you might not hire the next marginal worker, even though that next marginal worker would be profitable at that higher wage, because all the other workers are going to see that and they're going to demand raises. So if you say are paying everybody $10 an hour and they each make $50 of profit, or not, or let's just say they each make $20 of profit an hour, you paid $10 in profit an hour, and you have 100 workers If you hire the next worker at $15 an hour, he's still profitable as a worker. You're still netting $5 an hour, but the 100 other employees are going to see his $15 an hour and they're going to say, hey, I demand $15 an hour like the new guy, right? And so what's 100 times? So now $500 an hour, you'll have to pay more. So it's not, you're not hiring an additional guy. So to make that $5 an hour for the next employee, it's going to cost you $500 an hour. So the next employee's cost is not $15 an hour. It's $515 an hour. That's why you don't hire him. And that's the monopsony trap that we get into. That's why raising the minimum wage actually doesn't cost jobs, because those people still make. So if you raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, the company's still profitable, but they've lost profits, right? So they make avenues of adjustment where they hire as many people that are profitable at $15 an hour. So they do a massive increase in hiring. This is one of the avenues of adjustment. So this is why this is a monopsony trap. This is why landlords just getting higher rents doesn't spur massive new housing construction. Because landlords are not the same as developers. Landlords are landlords. Landlords have monopoly control over their land. That's what makes landlording different than, say, other commodity production. Because land is not perfectly substitutable with other land. They're monopolies. My parcel in Manhattan is not perfectly substitutable with parcel in Brooklyn. So I have a monopoly, government granted monopoly on that parcel in Manhattan. And so that gives me tremendous power that is similar to monopoly pricing rather than a pure commodity production. This is economics. I'm sorry, chat. This is economics 301. Okay. So you might not learn about this shit in economics 101. You might have to take a couple more classes.
Okay, well, of course, the big question is, how are you going to pay for it? You've proposed increasing taxes on wealthier New Yorkers. The Democratic governor, though, of your state, Kathy Hochul, says she's not going to support increasing taxes in order to get it across the finish line. I want to let you take a listen to a little bit of what she had to say recently and respond on the other side. Here she is.
I'm not raising taxes on people at a time when affordability is the big issue. I'm actually cutting middle class taxes.
Even on the wealthy.
I don't want to lose any more people to go to Palm Beach. We've lost enough.
How are you going to raise taxes if you can't get Democrats to support it?
So I think what we've shown over the last 8 months is our ability to take that which is considered a non-starter and make it seem inevitable. We've shown that with this campaign, and ultimately we're seeing that our vision to tax the top 1% of New Yorkers, these are New Yorkers who make $1 million a year or more, and our proposal is to just tax them by 2% additional, is something that has broad support and will continue to increase that support over the next few months and years.
So you think you're going to be able to twist Governor Hochul's arm and get her to support raising taxes? I mean, what about the fact that she says she's concerned New Yorkers might leave? They might go to Florida.
I think it's time for a leadership that doesn't twist arms, but rather builds partnership. And I'm looking forward to having that with the governor, because ultimately my policies, my vision, it's driven by an assessment of what's actually happening. The Fiscal Policy Institute found that the top 1% of New Yorkers leave at 1/4 the rate of other income groups. And when they do leave, it's actually to other states considered high tax, New Jersey, California. So it's not fiscal policy, it's quality of life. And ultimately, the reason I want to increase these taxes on the top 1%, the most profitable corporations, is to increase quality of life for everyone, including those who are going to be taxed.
Here's how the Washington Post editorial board wrote about your proposals. They say a massive minimum wage would depress low-skilled employment. His rent freeze would reduce the housing supply and decrease its quality.
The Washington Post editorial board is weighing in on a non-local race? Wait, weird? What?
Cutting bus fares would leave a transit funding hole that, unless somehow filled, would erode service.
By the way, chat, Vienna has had rent control since the 90s, and it's the most affordable big city in Europe. It's growing in population. Rent control does not cause this shit. It's just wrong. What causes it is profiteering.
Meanwhile, the grocery business operates on thin margins.
No, these are accounting tricks. God, I hate these fucking people. They're so stupid, man. They're so fucking stupid. They're charging $9 for grapes in supermarkets in New York City. Do you think it cost them $9 on that item? They're probably running 300% margin on that item, if not more. This is just bullshit. This is accounting tricks. And that's why there's, if this is true, well, you know, what's so odd is that they're so against this pilot program. If it's so obviously true, if the margins are so thin, if it's impossible to run a grocery store and offer good wages for the workers and good prices on the products, then it'll be very readily apparent, won't it? Denim's refugees, banned. I think Denim's is just taking a day off to work on shit. So I am doing the old fish, DSA fish.
His plan for city-run stores would probably lead to fewer options, poor service, and shortages. Mr. Mamdani, are your proposals going to hurt the very people you're trying to help?
Not at all. There have been many in editorial board who have had concerns, and what we've shown is that more than 400,000 New Yorkers are excited.
There are government-run grocery stores all over this country. Like, it's not even true. That's the thing that's fucking hilarious. It's not even true. And there are government-owned enterprises that make money in this country, like the Tennessee Valley Authority. So the idea that the government just can't own shit and run it for a profit is just wrong. It's just dead fucking wrong. Sorry. I mean, Pennsylvania, for example, the wine and spirit stores are a government-owned enterprise. If you go to a liquor store in Pennsylvania, it's owned by the state of Pennsylvania. And the prices are good, and the employees are unionized and have pensions and good contracts, and it makes hundreds of millions of dollars of profit for the state every year. So the idea that government owned equal fail is just wrong. I mean, China, 45% of the economy in China is government owned enterprises. It's the fastest growing economy in human history. They just have ideological blinkers.
About this vision. And the reason they're excited about it is one that is in line with the scale of the crisis in this city. I mean, we are talking about our tax base growing smaller and smaller each day, with New Yorkers leaving to New Jersey, to Pennsylvania, to Connecticut. If we do not meet this moment, we will lose this city. And our proposals are ones that are thought out. They are ones that are also clearly going to be funded by these revenue streams. I'll give you an example. When we talk about grocery stores, I've put forward a proposal for a pilot of one grocery store in each borough. These are 5 grocery stores that would cost $60 million in a city budget of more than $113 billion. And ultimately, the reason that we are so excited by them is we've seen that they've worked in Kansas. We've seen that when a feasibility study was done in Chicago, it was shown to be something that was not only feasible, but pressing and urgent in an urban setting. And finally, it costs less than half of what the city's already set to spend on subsidizing corporate supermarkets without any guarantee of cheaper prices, any guarantee of collective bargaining agreements, or that they accept SNAP or WIC.
Well, you take me to my next question about grocery stores. Some executives, including one of the top grocery stores owners, billionaires, threatening to shut down his supermarket in the city. John Castamatidis, who runs Gristides grocery chain. You're probably very...
Okay, how do you... what's the grocery chain called again? I'm not a New Yorker. What's the grocery chain? John Castamatidis Gristides grocery store. Store directory. Let's do these 5. Let's do you order online? Oh, I have to like have a login and fuck this shit. I was gonna say this is like the worst grocery store on the planet. The U.S. State Department has revoked the U.S. visas for members of the Bob Dylan band in light of their hateful tirade at Glastonbury. I mean, legitimately pathetic. Legitimately pathetic. Let's just close this before I say something I'm going to be mad about. Look at these prices. Guys! It's only $14 for a Haagen-Dazs package. It's only $14 for a Haagen-Dazs package. $11 for a Talenti. A Talenti's $11 fucking dollars. These are like $5. What the fuck? $4.29 for a 2-liter? These should be like $1.50. Yo, this is why they don't want the government run grocery stores. Holy shit. How much could a banana cost? $10 isn't even a fucking joke in New York City. That's legitimately what it costs. Holy shit. This is just normal in NYC. No shit. This is fucking, I know it is. It's batshit crazy. You're getting robbed. This being the visage of a grocery capitalist vindicates every 19th century political cartoonist. Oh, why did I capitalize? Because I'm malding and I'm trying to not say what I'm thinking. That's the honest to God truth.
Kansas. We've seen that when a feasibility study was done in Chicago, it was shown to be something that was not only feasible, but pressing and urgent in an urban setting. And finally, it costs less than half of what the city's already set to spend on subsidizing corporate supermarkets without any guarantee of cheaper prices, any guarantee.
Rent freeze would reduce the housing supply and decrease its quality. Cutting bus fares would leave a transit funding hole that, unless somehow filled, would erode service.
By the way, as I said before, Austria has had... I keep interrupting because every single line they say is a fucking lie. Notice how they just say conclusions on the Washington Post. Notice how they just say fucking conclusions without any evidence. These scum. If you actually look at rent control as it exists in Vienna, it doesn't cause a massive supply crunch. Actually, what it does is it increases the economic diversity of neighborhoods. It allows poor people to live in neighborhoods with high amenities. That's the effect. Residents sorted in neighborhoods based on their preferences for amenities and income, as is studied by many authors, aka poor people go in the ghetto, rich people are in the nice area. But that's not true in Vienna because of rent control. Because 60% of people live in government housing or co-ops or nonprofit buildings. They live in all the nice neighborhoods. So you have poor people that live in the nice neighborhoods. So you have complete social integration based on income because of this. Income-based sorting means that given preferences, residents sort into neighborhoods according to their income. Those with higher incomes outbid those with lower income to locate in neighborhoods with greater amenities. Sorting is thus an inherently spatial concept. If a housing policy enables lower income residents to locate in areas where higher income residents live, sorting and consequently the income distribution within neighborhoods is impacted. The original objective of rent control in Austria was to limit excessive increases in rent while securing maintenance of buildings and preserving pre-existing lower heterogeneity in apartment prices. Rent control in Vienna is particularly interesting as it is a neighborhood-specific cap of the rent per meter squared set by the law. We developed a spatial fixed effects identification strategy to examine exogeny and focus on the effect of rent control on income at the census block group. And so what I'm trying to say, Chad, is we've literally seen rent control in Austria, and it doesn't cause these massive disruptions like people say. What it actually does is it helps people firmly root in communities. It creates, we don't have ghettos and concentrated poverty. It fucking works. Now, it works in Austria because they also spend and they build 7,000 new apartment units for working class people every year with government money. It's not that much. They spend $400 million on 7,000 apartments, which means they give $60,000 per apartment. But guess what, chat? These are extremely high quality apartments because they leverage that government funding into even more. And because they have a strong permanent government housing program, they have systems and processes in place. They have government employees that have long track records. They have strong institutional knowledge. They take advantage of land. Like, they have land banks. They actually focus on delivering housing as a fucking right. And it works really well. Fuck, it triggers me so much how people are fucking stupid and they buy dumbass throwaway lines from idiots.
Meanwhile, the grocery business operates on thin margins, and his plan for city-run stores would probably lead to fewer options, poor service, and shortages. Mr. Mamdani, are your proposals going to hurt the very people you're trying to help?
Not at all. There have been many in editorial board who have had concerns, and what we've shown is that more than 400,000 New Yorkers are excited about this vision. And the reason they're excited about it is one that is in line with the scale of the crisis in this city. I mean, we are talking about our tax base growing smaller and smaller each day, with New Yorkers leaving to New Jersey, to Pennsylvania, to Connecticut. If we do not meet this moment, we will lose this city. And our proposals are ones that are thought out. They are ones that are also clearly going to be funded by these revenue streams. I'll give you an example. When we talk about grocery stores, I've put forward a proposal for a pilot of one grocery store in each borough. These are 5 grocery stores that would cost $60 million in a city budget of more than $113 billion. And ultimately, the reason that we are so excited by them is we've seen that they've worked in Kansas. We've seen that when a feasibility study was done in Chicago, it was shown to be something that was not only feasible, but pressing and urgent in an urban setting. And finally, it costs less than half of what the city's already set to spend on subsidizing corporate supermarkets without any guarantee of cheaper prices, any guarantee of collective bargaining agreements, or that they accept SNAP or WIC.
Well, you take me to my next question about grocery stores. Some executives, including one of the top grocery stores owners, billionaires, threatening to shut down his supermarket in the city. John Catsimatidis, who runs Gristedes grocery chain, you're probably very familiar with him. He said this on Election Day, quote, "If the city of New York is going socialist, I will definitely close or sell or move or franchise the Gristedes locations." In order to run New York City successfully as mayor, do you not need the support of a billionaire businessman like John Catsimatidis?
I don't know if I need his support specifically, but I want to make clear that my vision for this city is a vision for every single New Yorker, including business leaders across the city. And the reason I say that is that my proposals, even the ones to increase the top corporate tax rate of New York to match that of New Jersey, are ones that would also benefit those business leaders. Because when I have conversations with them, what I also hear is just how expensive this city is preventing them from attracting and retaining the talent they need to grow their business. And ultimately, I'm looking forward to having those meetings, having those sit-downs to make clear why this vision would benefit all.
We went on your website and realized there's a policy proposal that says your plan, and I'm going to quote it for folks, is to shift the tax burden from overtaxed homeowners in the outer boroughs to more expensive homes in richer and whiter neighborhoods. Explain why you are bringing race into your tax proposal.
That is just a description of what we see right now. It's not driven by race. It's more of an assessment of what neighborhoods are being undertaxed versus overtaxed. We've seen time and again that this is a property tax system that is inequitable. It's one that actually Eric Adams ran on saying that he would change in the first 100 days. He's since sought to defend it and lost at every juncture in court.
And I understand you're saying we're simply describing the types of neighborhoods that would see these increase in taxes. And yet, by invoking race, do you run the risk of potentially alienating key constituents?
I think I'm just naming things as they are. And ultimately, the thing that motivates me in this is to create a system of fairness. It is not to work backwards from a racial assessment of neighborhoods or our city. Rather, it's to ensure that we actually have an equal playing field. And right now, what we see with the property tax system is one that is overtaxing a number of New Yorkers and undertaxing others, and an inability of political will to resolve that.
So no plans to change that language on your website?
The focus here is to actually ensure a fair property tax system, and that the use of that language is just an assessment of the neighborhood.
All right, you are a self.
By the way, I think he fucked up there. I'll just say this: I don't think he should have said that. I think that was dumb. I think that was a dumb move, because he's been very much able to avoid the kind of like 2020 rad lib fucking accusations, and I think like that stuff kind of slips in there. You don't need to say that. Use dog whistles, man. Just say richer neighborhoods, and richer neighborhoods disproportionately are white. Do the New York strategy, where you're talking about economic things, but the effect is that you hurt rich white people more than black people and more than immigrants. Talk about class, because the vast majority of white people are not rich. So you'll be helping them as well. I don't like anytime you allow this kind of rad lib shit to just creep in, they're just gonna pound on that. Even the meat press liberal journalist is doing it. Like, you fell into a trap there. So it is what it is. I think that was a mistake, but I think his answer was good. But he fell for the rad lib internet trap.
Described democratic socialist. Do you think that billionaires have a right to exist?
I don't think that we should have billionaires, because frankly, it is so much money in a moment of such inequality. And ultimately, what we need more of is equality across our city and across our state and across our country. And I look forward to work with everyone, including billionaires, to make a city that is fairer for all of them.
Well, let me ask you about what Donald Trump, the president of the United States, has had to say. He's had a lot to say about your campaign. He called you a communist. Because he's the president, I want to give you a chance to respond directly to him. How do you respond? Are you a communist?
No, I am not. And I have already had to start to get used to the fact that the president will talk about how I look, how I sound.
By the way, chat, wow. They're saying he's a communist. They said the same thing about Obama. It's almost like being a fucking socialist doesn't change anything. The Republicans are going to call you the same shit no matter what. So you might as well just support what's good. Now, chat, there's a reason why you can't call yourself a communist, because they will fucking try to deport you. Like, if he had said he was a communist, they would have deported him. They would have stripped his citizenship, literally. You can't. Like, I think a lot of people don't understand that you're not allowed to say you're a communist in America. Like, if you do and nothing happened to you, it's because you're not important enough for them to care. Well, and I don't say that to be mean. I say that as a statement of fact.
Where I'm from, who I am, ultimately because he wants to distract from what I'm fighting for. And I'm fighting for the very working people that he ran a campaign to empower that he has since then betrayed. And when we talk about my politics, you know, I call myself a democratic socialist in many ways inspired by the words of Dr. King from decades ago, who said, call it democracy or call it democratic socialism, there has to be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country. And as income inequality has declined nationwide, it has increased in New York City. And ultimately, what we need is a city where every single person can thrive.
All right. Stay right there. We are going to take a quick break. More of our exclusive conversation with Zohran Mamdani when we come right back. Stay with us. We are back here live in New York with State Assemblyman and the presumptive Democratic nominee for mayor of New York, Zohran Mamdani. Thank you so much for sticking around for more questions. Let's talk about immigration, deportation. Are you committed to keeping New York as a sanctuary city?
Absolutely, because ultimately we've seen that this is a policy that has kept New Yorkers safe for decades. It's a policy that had previously been defended by Democrats and Republicans alike until the fear-mongering of this current mayor. And it's a policy that we've seen ensures that New Yorkers can get out of the shadows and into the full life of the city that they belong to. And it's one that I will be proud to stand up for.
Well, you know, the border czar, Tom Homan, has said that he is planning to deploy ICE agents to New York, worksite enforcement to essentially increase and enhance the number of ICE agents here. If that happens on your watch, how do you plan to handle it?
We have to stand up and fight back, and we haven't seen that from our current mayor, who has instead been working with the Trump administration to assist in their goal of building the single largest deportation force in American history. I mean, we saw ICE agents arrest a migrant at Federal Plaza, and then we saw NYPD officers arresting a pastor who was peacefully observing that arrest. Those days are going to come to an end when I'm the mayor. The NYPD's job is to create public safety in the city, not to assist ICE agents in their mission to attack the very fabric of this city.
I want to talk about the historic nature of your candidacy. If you were to win, you would become the first Muslim mayor of New York City. Along the way, throughout the course of this primary campaign, you have received death threats. You've received all sorts of attacks online. Congressman Andy Ogles called for you to be deported, for example, because you were born in Uganda. He also issued an Islamophobic epithet, which I am not going to repeat here. But what type of toll has this taken on you personally and on your family?
It's been difficult. It's been difficult to have to.
By the way, chat, my response to this is, you know, if it were me getting asked this question, my answer is, I'm not scared. They are. They're scared of seeing a politician who actually will fight for the regular people. The politicians that attack me are frightened to have a politician who is actually on the side of the people because they're worried about the comparison with a good example. And they're getting overheated because they're afraid
to deal with the regular and repeated smears and slander upon my name and on the very basis of my faith. And I think what's so sad is that this is but a glimpse into what life is like for many Muslim New Yorkers and many New Yorkers of different faiths who are constantly being told that they don't belong in this city and in this country that they love. And ultimately what continues to give me hope is that these moments are but small examples, something that goes against what so many New Yorkers actually feel. Because what we know is that this is a city for all of us. And what Tuesday night showed is that what New Yorkers want more than anything is a vision that binds us all together.
I want to ask you about an issue that has divided some New Yorkers in recent weeks. You were recently asked about the term globalize the intifada, if it makes you uncomfortable. In that moment, you did not condemn the phrase. Now, just so folks understand, it's
condemn the phrase. Guys, condemn the phrase. They think this shit's gonna work. This shit only works if you act like a fucking bitch and apologize. This shit only works if you act like a bitch and apologize. Never apologize. Be like, shut the fuck up. Shut up. I'm not gonna waste my time condemning a phrase just because it's in Arabic. I think the question is absurd. Let's talk about New York City and how I'm going to make the lives of every New Yorker, Jews, Muslims, Christians, and non-believers alike better, because that's my job. This is pathetic. Aren't you embarrassed to ask this question? Aren't you embarrassed?
The phrase that many people hear as a call to violence against Jews. There's been a lot of attention on this issue. So I want to give you an opportunity to respond here and now. Do you condemn that phrase, globalize the Intifada?
That's not language that I use. The language that I use and the language that I will continue to use to lead this city is that which speaks clearly to my intent, which is an intent grounded in a belief in universal human rights. And ultimately, that's what is the foundation of so much of my politics, the belief that freedom and justice and safety are things that, to have meaning, have to be applied to all people, and that includes Israelis and Palestinians alike.
But do you actually condemn it? I think that's the question and the outstanding issue that a number of people, both of the Jewish faith and beyond, have. Do you condemn that phase, globalize the Intifada, which a lot of people hear as a call to violence against Jews?
I've heard from many Jewish New Yorkers who have shared their concerns with me, especially in light of the horrific attacks that we saw in Washington, D.C. and in Boulder, Colorado, about this moment of anti-Semitism in our country and in our city. And I've heard those fears and I've had those conversations, and ultimately they are part and parcel of why in my campaign I've put forward a commitment to increase funding for anti-hate crime programming by 800%. I don't believe that the role of the mayor is to police speech in the manner especially of that of Donald Trump, who has put one New Yorker in jail who's just returned to his family, Mahmoud Khalil, for that very supposed crime of speech. Ultimately, what I think I need to show is the ability to not only talk about something, but to tackle it and to make clear that there's no room for anti-Semitism in this city. And we have to root out that bigotry, and ultimately we do that through the actions, and that is the mayor I will be, one that protects Jewish New Yorkers and lives up to that commitment through the work that I do.
But very quickly, for the people who care about the language and who feel really concerned by that phrase, why not just condemn it?
My concern is to start to walk down the line of language and making clear what language I believe is permissible or impermissible takes me into a place similar to that of the president, who is looking to do those very kinds of things, putting people in jail for writing an op-ed, putting them in jail for protesting. Ultimately, it's not language that I use. It's language I understand there are concerns about. And what I will do is showcase my vision for the city through my words and my actions.
Let me ask you broadly, your surprise victory has some progressive Democrats saying, boy, you may have determined the model for the Democratic Party nationally in this moment. Do you think your campaign represents the playbook for how to win in the Trump era for Democrats?
I think it showcases a new approach to politics in our city, and it's for others to decide across our country. Ultimately, what we wanted to do from the very beginning of this race was change our political instinct from lecturing to listening. And after the presidential election, where we saw New York be the state in the nation with the largest swing towards Donald Trump, 11.5 points, and we saw that swing took place far from the caricatures of Trump voters, I went to those hearts of immigrant New York City that were the fulcrum of those swings, Hillside Avenue in Queens, Fordham Road in the Bronx, and I asked Democrats, who did you vote for and why? And I heard from them again and again, I voted for Donald Trump because I could afford things that are now out of my reach today. And ultimately, when I asked them what would it take to bring you back to the Democratic Party, they said a relentless focus on an economic agenda. And that's the campaign that we built.
Do you think that your apparent victory is a sign that there is an appetite for young progressives like a Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to run for president in 2028?
It's an honor to be endorsed by Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez and to have been represented by her for so many years, because she's showcased so much of what we're trying to do in this campaign. The ability to not only stand up and fight, but also to win. And ultimately, what people want to see is someone who doesn't just believe in something, but can deliver on those things. And now, especially more than ever, we need to be a party that's not just against Donald Trump, but also for something. And our campaign was for working people, for bringing dignity back into those lives. And that's what the Congresswoman has showed time and again.
I can't let you go without doing a little bit of local politics.
Please.
So Mayor Eric Adams already in.
Oh, my gosh. 19 minutes and we're not talking about Israel for 20 seconds. Yay! We're not talking about Israel. Yay! You know what, chat? I want to say this. I want to say this. if you are the type of person who thinks that Israel takes up too much time in our politics, you have to vote for Zohran.
The general election as an independent candidate. We're waiting to see if Andrew Cuomo officially throws his hat into the ring. Do you think you can win if the two of them are in the race? Can you beat both of them?
Absolutely. We can beat anyone that's in this race, because what we've shown is that this is a campaign that has the support of more than 400,000 New Yorkers. In the first round of Tuesday night, we got more votes than Eric Adams did by the last round of 2021. And ultimately, it's a referendum on how he made this city so unaffordable. For too long, politicians have pretended to simply be bystanders to a cost of living crisis. They've actually exacerbated it. And our vision is one that will respond to it and make this a city affordable for every New Yorker.
All right. Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani, thank you so much for the conversation. Really appreciate it. Please stay safe on the campaign trail.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is the first interview she's ever asked follow-up questions, just all for Israel. When I say we're never going to forget, when I say, like, it's already over, I want you guys to know this. Our generation is going to clean this fucking country out of all the scum that supported Zionism during this genocide. Like, we're not going to stop. We're going to clean. It's going to be far. Like, remember how people lost primaries for supporting the Iraq war? This is going to be like that forever. But you're a Zionist is going to be like on the level of you are a Nazi. All right, we're just getting started.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay.
I want you to know that. I want you to know that. Like I will never let anyone who is a Zionist have a moment of peace. I'm never going to compromise on this, ever. Police launch investigation of Bob Villain and kneecap Glastonbury sets. Look at this centrist fucking loser Labor Party that's literally got an 18% approval rating using authoritarianism to try to silence what the vast majority of people believe. People complain. They talk about China being authoritarian. China does not do this to something that 90% of the Chinese people believe. This is fucking batshit. The US and the UK are more authoritarian over Zionism than China ever has been, going back to the Cultural fucking Revolution.
Zohran Mamdani, the 33-year-old Democratic socialist who claimed a surprising victory in the New York City mayoral Democratic...
Surprising landslide. And by the way, chat, tomorrow we're getting the ranked choice votes. Oh, baby. Tomorrow we get the ranked choice votes. And let me tell you, I can't wait to see the landslide that we get. Oh, baby. I hope you're ready. Because you think it's good now. Wait till tomorrow when he gets 56% of the vote.
Primary last week stopped short of fully condemning the phrase globalize the intifada, which many say is a call for violence against Jewish people. Here's his full exchange yesterday on NBC's Meet the Press with moderator Kristen Welker.
I want to ask you about an issue that has divided some New Yorkers in recent weeks. You were recently asked about the term globalize the intifada, if it makes you uncomfortable. In that moment, you did not condemn the phrase. Now, just so folks understand, it's a phrase that many people hear as a call to violence against Jews. There's been a lot of attention on this issue. So I want to give you an opportunity to respond here and now. Do you condemn that phrase, globalize the intifada?
That's not language that I use. The language that I use and the language that I will continue to use to lead this city is that which speaks clearly to my intent, which is an intent grounded in a belief in universal human rights. And ultimately, that's what is the foundation of so much of my politics, the belief that freedom and justice and safety are things that, to have meaning, have to be applied to all people, and that includes Israelis and Palestinians alike.
But do you actually condemn it? I think that's the question and the outstanding issue that a number of people, both of the Jewish faith and beyond, have. Do you condemn that phase, globalize the intifada, which a lot of people hear as a call to violence against Jews?
I've heard from many Jewish New Yorkers who have shared their concerns with me, especially in light of the horrific attacks that we saw in Washington, D.C. and in Boulder, Colorado, about this moment of anti-Semitism in our country and in our city. And I've heard those fears and I've had those conversations, and ultimately they are part and parcel of why in my campaign I've put forward a commitment to increase funding for anti-hate crime programming by 800%. I don't believe that the role of the mayor is to police speech in the manner especially of that of Donald Trump, who has put one New Yorker in jail who's just returned to his family, Mahmoud Khalil, for that very supposed crime of speech. Ultimately, what I think I need to show is the ability to not only talk about something, but to tackle it and to make clear that there's no room for anti-Semitism in this city. We have to root out that bigotry, and ultimately we do that through the actions, and that is the mayor I will be, one that protects Jewish New Yorkers and lives up to that commitment through the work that I do.
But quickly, for the people who care about the language and who feel really concerned by that phrase, why not just condemn it?
My concern is to start to walk down the line of language and making clear what language I believe is permissible or impermissible takes me into a place similar to that of the president, who is looking to do those very kinds of things, putting people in jail for writing an op-ed, putting them in jail for protesting. Ultimately, it's not language that I use. It's language I understand there are concerns about. And what I will do is showcase my vision for the city through my words and my actions.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries of New York says that Mamdani needs to do more, though, in calling out the phrase.
Globalizing the Intifada, by way of example, is not an acceptable phrase, and he's going to have to clarify his position on that as he moves forward. With respect to the Jewish communities that I represent, I think our nominee is going to have to convince folks that he is prepared to aggressively address the rise in anti-Semitism in the city of New York, which has been an unacceptable development.
Okay, joining us now, the host of the podcast On Brand with Donny Deutsch. Donny Deutsch. Donny, thank you very much for joining us. Look, there is nuance in what Mamdani is saying. I get it in that second answer where he says he doesn't want to get into the business of what language is permissible and what language is not permissible. But what did you make of his decision? And it clearly is a decision. He knew he could be asked about this. His decision on Meet the Press not to condemn the phrase.
I'm outraged that we have a candidate for mayor of New York, Mr. Mamdani, that cannot walk back or cannot condemn the words.
I want you to understand something right now, chat. Never, ever, ever, never, ever, never, ever, ever apologize to a Zionist, ever. You never apologize to a Zionist, ever, about anything. Ever, never, ever. In fact, that's actually, if you watch Ethan Klein and Gila Klein, one of the things they're constantly complaining about is nobody's even admitting there's any problem. They're not even apologizing at all about anything. Never apologize about a single fucking thing. Not one thing. Never apologize to a Zionist ever. 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 The moment you're like, well, you know, I could see why some people feel that way. They're going to say that the left is anti-Semitic. You admitted it. You're an anti-Semite. You had to apologize for your anti-Semitism. Blah, 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 blah. This is far preferable. Have them do this and everyone be like, why are you constantly talking about Israel? Make them keep demanding shit and be like, I'm trying to talk about New York. I care about the Jews in New York. I do not support Israel's genocide. Force them to talk about the genocide. Never apologize to a Zionist ever about anything, ever. Never. Not one thing.
Globalize the Intifada and his nuance of, well, it means different things to different people. Let me tell you what it means to a Jew. It means violence. It means October 7th. It means firebombing people in Colorado. It means violence. That's the connotation. That's the essence of it. And that's what it means to Jewish people. And if any other group came forward and said, you know what, these words are offensive to us, it means violence, it frightens us, I think there'll be a response. But for some reason, if Jewish people find it offensive, it's not offensive. And I find it offensive that he cannot condemn those words. And I think he's overall running a campaign of divisiveness. He also came out in the last 2 days and said, we're going to tax rich white neighborhoods. Why do you have to put white in there? Just say we're going to tax the...
Look at these Republicans. Look at these fucking Republicans, man. Look at these fucking Republicans. He didn't say that. He literally didn't say that. That's a fucking lie! He said they were describing the neighborhood's demographics as a richer, whiter neighborhood. He didn't say we're going to come tax white people. You fucking liar! You fucking liar!
Wealthy.
Every Zionist. I find it offensive. I find your face offensive. You gotta learn from Corbyn, man. You gotta learn from Corbyn. These people can never be trusted. You can never give a Zionist an inch because they'll take your entire home.
I find it offensive that in the past he's talked about defunding the police. I think he's walked that back, but yet he voted $3 billion out of a police budget. And I just find there's a recklessness and a divisiveness to it. And I'm offended as a Jew that he can't walk that back.
Let's bring in the CEO of the Anti-Defamation League.
Listen, wait a minute. They're bringing in the ADL CEO? Right after Donnie Deutsch? Look how they're propagandizing MSNBC liberals. And this must be this is the word from Hakeem Jeffries. This is MSDNC. They don't do shit like this without the direct guidance of the Democratic Party. It's time to go to war.
Jonathan Greenblatt. Jonathan, I know we had a few.
I mean, like, legitimately, this guy is a spy. He's not an American. He's a spy. A functioning society, he would be in prison.
Problems with your connection. I'm glad we've got you back again. I wanted to get your reaction to what Mr. Mamdani said this weekend on Meet the Press.
Well, look, I think sometimes the things you don't say are what people hear loudest of all. And when asked a very direct question, and I'll just elaborate on what Donnie just said. Look, the Intifada was a period of violence directed at civilians. More than 1,000 people were killed in suicide bombs.
I want to tell you this, chat. He did not say this. He did not say globalize the Intifada. He said, I'm not going to be policing protests. I'm not going to be policing other people's language. I don't think that's the job of the mayor. That's what he said. He didn't say globalize the Intifada. He didn't say it. So they're doing a whole segment about something he did not say?
And shootings and stabbings in Israel. And of course, we also saw what happened on October the 7th. October the 7th, the murder of 1,200 people is what revived that phrase, Gadi. So let me be clear. It was notable that candidate Mamdani went to Harlem this weekend. It was notable he went with my friend, the Rev. He went to meet Black people in Harlem on their own terms. I think what Jewish people would want to see is where
never give an inch to this fucking liar. He is an enemy. And the ADL spied on people who did anti-apartheid protests during the apartheid of South Africa. They gave information to those people, to the South African apartheid government. Israel was the closest ally to the apartheid government of South Africa. Israel despises black people. Black Jews are discriminated against in Israel. Don't listen to this fucking liar.
Where the candidate goes to meet mainstream Jewish people in a mainstream synagogue or in a mainstream setting and simply says with the same clarity that he brought this weekend, where he met, again, black people where they are and simply said to Jewish people, I hear you, and here is my plan to protect Jewish New Yorkers.
He already did that, you fucking dumb fuck piece of shit. You lying sack of shit. He said he was going to have a strong focus on developing an anti-hate crime and anti-bigotry task force. He already said that, you fucking liar.
You know, more hate crimes enforcement for everyone. That should be a given. But here is why I understand what
you don't get special treatment because you want to do a genocide. You don't get special treatment from criticism, you fucking scum. Stop watching. Like, if you, like, honest to God, people need to just stop watching MSNBC completely. It is a propaganda network. It is trash.
You are telling me as a community I need. And here is why I, as your mayor, will do certain things. Other than that, Caddy, if he can't simply say, I will be the mayor for all New Yorkers, including Jewish New Yorkers, and here's how I will do it. Here is the plan. Then I think people have a right not only to be offended, but to question what's really going on here. Why won't he give Jewish New Yorkers the same respect he's giving to all other communities?
So, Rev, we saw you in that picture there meeting with candidate Mamdani this weekend. I'm sure you had a conversation with him as well. I think that's what Jonathan has just said is a very fair point. Did you hear anything from him? Have you spoken to him about this? Do you think it's a plan of his to go out there and say to Jewish voters in New York, I treat you with the same respect that I treat black voters, I treat you with the same respect that I treat Muslim voters, and I absolutely want to make sure that you feel safe in this city? And I think he's got that inability of his to condemn that language is going to be something that keeps coming back to haunt him in his campaign unless he does something.
Here's what I want you to understand. He'll never condemn it. He'll never condemn it. Globalize the Intifada is not something he said. You fucking scum. You pathetic. Like, how do boomers watch this shit and not become enraged? How do boomers not watch this shit and go, God damn, this is propaganda. This is disgusting. This is pathetic. How the fuck do you not watch this and go, what the fuck is this shit? Like, you have to be brain dead to watch this shit.
That like what Jonathan is suggesting.
Well, I think he definitely denounced from his speech anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. But let's deal directly with it. Let's not skirt around the issue. We're not talking about something subtle here. Things that I remember 20, 30 years ago, I said things, nothing like endorsing violence, but that was offensive to Jews, offensive to gay people. Mrs. Coretta Scott King, Martin Luther King's widow, said to me, Al, you cannot take words lightly. I said, but I was just slanging.
He didn't say it! You dumb fuck! He didn't say it! He didn't say it, you dumb fuck!
You can't do it. He's running for mayor of New York. You need to take off the table. Do you support international intifada? Not period. Intifada. Not go around.
He said, I didn't say it, and it's not the words that I would use. But I'm not here to police language of the pro-Palestine movement. He literally, like, shut your fucking fat mouth.
That I understand you don't want to be forced into something, but I don't think that's what he stands for from what he said to us, and he should say that outright. Secondly, I agree with Jonathan. He ought to meet with the Jewish community.
He already has, you fucking lying sack of shit. By the way, notice how there's no debate. They're saying debate. Debate? Where's the debate? This is propaganda. 9 minutes. You've all agreed on everything. Where's the debate? Where's the... This is fucking disgusting.
I think he will. But I think you've got to understand people like Donnie that are offended by many things. And Donnie has had to defend me to his friends from things that I've said in the past. They would deal with this. But what I fear, Donnie, is you have the mayor, Eric Adams, who's running on an independent line named after anti-Semitism. You have this out here with the opponent. And I don't want to see a race where it's blacks against Jews.
I know.
He needs to meet with Jewish leaders so they can see the kind of guy I saw on Saturday. And we need to take it off. Otherwise, we're going to heighten tensions. We just had Jews killed at a museum in Washington, D.C. This got to stop. And leadership needs to make it stop.
I'm making a plea to Mr. Mamdani that from a Jewish perspective, those words are frightening and offensive. And it's not your point of view, it's a Jew's point of view. And you need to understand that.
Jonathan, if he did what you say, what you suggest, would that take away your concerns about his candidacy? Would that be enough?
Well, look, I mean, I want to hear the plans from all the candidates, not just Mamdani. but considering his past, he was a student organizer for a group called Students for Justice in Palestine. They're the ones who led the systematic marginalization and targeting of Jews on college campuses over the last year and a half. And so when Mr. Mamdani shows up and says, again, I think this is a very important point, Caddy, he doesn't get to pick and choose which Jewish people he talks to. He needs to come to us. He needs to meet us where we are. If he could do that, he would allay a lot of concern. But look, this guy, he wants free buses. He wants government-controlled grocery stores. He's got a lot of big plans, Caddy. I don't know why, considering his big plans, he's going to need a lot of political capital. He's going to need a lot of allies. I don't know why, again and again and again, he simply won't take this head on, like the Rev said.
I want you to know we're going to take it head on, and we're going to smash the consensus on Israel, and we're going to destroy the Democratic Party's consensus on this, and we're going to frighten you. It's going to be a partisan issue now. Only Republicans are going to support Israel, and we are going to cut your funding. Oh my God, we are going to pull back your funding. I welcome this fight on the ground of Israel. Make it about Israel. Make it about Israel. I can't fucking wait. I'm desperate to fight over Israel. Let's fucking go.
Kristen Welker did an amazing job yesterday, and he had a chance just to literally put this to rest, Caddy. And like I said at the top, sometimes the things we don't say are actually the loudest. That's what people hear. So that's what the Jewish community right now is struggling with. Reform people and observant people, liberal people and conservative people, at a time when anti-Semitism has surged to record levels. The idea of a candidate who won't clearly and unambiguously say, here is my plan, I am with you, leaves a lot of us deeply, deeply troubled.
Okay, well, if he's been watching Morning Joe for the last 3 minutes, he will have heard that message loud and clear. Let's see if he reaches out. CEO of the Anti-Defamation League, Jonathan Green.
Here's what I will say about this propaganda. And here's what I'll say about this propaganda. Hey, boomers, your time is fucking over. And we're not going to be nice about it. Zohran, it's Zohran or else. I hope people know this. He's a smiling, nice guy. When it falls to people like me, we will not be nice. We're not going to be nice about it. This is your last chance.
Black, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
AIPAC is working overtime. I see a panel says they're concerned about people unsafe from language use, but can't condemn kids feeling the agony of forced starvation. Why won't you condemn the genocide? She laid the trap 3 times. He didn't fall. Get over it. Palestinians in Gaza are dying in scores. Oh my God, this is so annoying that they're even asking this. Are non-Muslim candidates asked how they would protect Muslims at home and abroad? Why should he condemn language he never used? He was clear on his position. No violence. It's over!
The other thing I think that's worth pointing out, and Rev, I want to bring you in on this, and Donnie too. We have asked on this show, because I was on last week, multiple politicians. We asked Haley Stevens this morning whether she had been watching the mayoral race and what she took away from either his style or his policies. We asked the same thing of Abigail Spanberger, who is running for governor in Virginia. We asked the same thing of Alyssa Slotkin. And guess what? None of them really wanted to talk about his race. Are Democrats, Rev, running away? Hold on a second. We're going to listen first of all. We have the bite.
I do not pretend to know anything about New York City politics or the outcomes of that election. What I know is my state, the Commonwealth of Virginia.
I'm not going to pretend to be a complete expert on New York City politics, but I think the messages coming out of that election a couple of days ago seemed clear to me, which were, number one, people, just like in November, are still really focused on the cost of living.
What is this New York you talk about? Are suddenly Democrats deciding that they don't want to have anything to do with Mamdani, Donnie? Is this a feeling that, I mean, it's just, it's so implausible that these people who are running for high office have not watched what was happening in New York and the bombshell that happened in New York politics last week. I don't buy it.
I think they're walking away from extremism. Extremism on the left is just as bad as extremism on the right. I think.
Here's what I'm going to say, you Zionist. We're never going to let Zionists be given public platforms on the left again. When we're done, 10 years from now, being a Zionist will be the same as being a Nazi.
think when somebody is a self-proclaimed socialist, that's
but then just say that. Just say that he's too
then
extreme,
they're also
and I'm going to walk away from it.
they're afraid of being primaried by somebody from the far.
Then we're gonna primary you.
Far left. So the Democrats are really in a conundrum here. But the bottom line is this type of extremism. When somebody says I'm against capitalism, I am a socialist. Donald Trump is licking his chops when he hears that. The Republicans want to run against that.
The Republicans want to be the pro-capitalism, pro-corporate, pro-Israel party. I can't imagine a fight that I wouldn't want to have more.
I've been very outspoken. The Dems got to move to the center. This is an extreme example of them moving the opposite direction, and that's why those politicians are running from it.
Well, let me say this. I think, again, I think that he should meet with Jewish leadership, as Greenblatt said. I did not see him as the kind of guy that wants to support killing anybody, but he needs to meet directly with that. Other things he's saying is resonating.
Don't listen to this shit. Don't listen to this fucking shit. Don't listen to this fucking shit. If you fall for this, you're stupid as fuck. I hope Zohran is smarter than this. This is how they got Corbyn. This is how they got Corbyn. Corbyn was like, well, you know, okay, let's see if we can find examples and be reasonable. And you know, if there is hatred, I want to deal with it. And it turns out that they just used it to keep the conversation going. Corbyn apologizes for blatant anti-Semitism in the Labor Party. And it was just a continual grind. Just make them keep repeating the same shit and laugh at it each time.
The affordability, the issues that he's raising is good. But what I really, really am afraid of is this turning into a black Jewish thing with him and Eric Adams. Because Eric Adams has to explain his relationship with Donald Trump. He has to explain if we're in a city that decides now that they ruled at the end of last week that 500,000 Haitians no longer have deportation relief. If they turn this into the next LA, what is Adams going to do? There are real issues here that we need to deal with. And I think that anyone that's going to run the city of New York needs to have to deal with them. Before I make an endorsement, I want to hear that. But the guy I heard on Saturday, the guy I've come to know, I think he should go in front and deal with that. And I think people like you would be candid enough, like you and I beat each other up 30 years ago. And we found common ground over some of the things me saying, yeah, you may be right here.
Because you became a sellout and a fraud. A corrupt sellout and a fraud and a huckster. Who you were 30 years ago is not who you are today. That's why Zohran was able to quote you during the National Action Network and embarrass you because you're such a fucking loser now.
Listen, if you can't handle a conversation, you sure can't handle the city of New York.
Amen.
Matt Lewis, do you think that Republicans who are clearly licking their lips, we've seen it on Donald Trump's Truth Social posts, may be a bit premature, that there is something
Deport her.
I mean, we've been giving Zohran Mamdani a very hard time on the show this morning,
Trump,
but there is undoubtedly...
Why aren't you deporting this person? They're talking about our politics, and they're using a non-American accent. Why aren't they being deported?
A natural political...
You see how ridiculous that sounds? But yet these liberals are in favor of it when it comes to people being anti-Israel.
Talent to the guy. He galvanized young voters, and there's a New York Times story out this morning saying that young people voted in greater numbers than older people in New York City. I mean, he's managing to build something of a movement. Like his policies or not, he's managing to do something politically.
Yeah, look, absolutely. And I think Republicans will try to make hay out of this. What else could they do? I'm old enough to remember Republicans running against Ted Kennedy, in every district in America and using him to fundraise. AOC now, I think, is kind of a boogeyman. You've got George Soros. So Republicans will take somebody who is perceived as being extreme and out of touch and use that to villainize and demonize the Democratic Party and also fundraise. But and it will work to a certain degree. And I think this guy is out of step in many ways with the mainstream. But he's young, he's exciting, he has charisma, and he is a rock star. And I argue that the problem that Democrats have right now is not really that they're too far left wing. It's that they're too boring. It's that they seem like politicians. And so if I think for the Democrats to reclaim the presidency, they're going to need someone like Mamdani, like AOC, who can emerge, who doesn't feel like a normal.
Why do you have Winston Churchill in your fucking background? He's a fucking genocidal maniac. What the fuck? It's so crazy how racism is so normalized. Like genocidal racism is so normalized in this country. It's fucking insane. You're American. He's a British conservative who did empire genocides. What the fuck is wrong with you? We have a lot of World War II heroes in America that are cool. You don't have to pick Winston Churchill, you fucking loser. Holy shit.
Politician. Maybe it's a generational change thing. Maybe it could be Bernie Sanders. I just think he's too old. But someone who doesn't.
He was a villain in Peaky Blinders. He was the villain in Peaky Blinders. He was doing shit to hurt the working classes. And he was with the corrupt organized crime guys to fuck with socialists. He was a villain.
Feel like a politician who can speak to angry, disaffected Americans and maybe also go on Joe Rogan. So look, make hay, but don't take this too lightly.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think one of Kamala Harris's problems is that she was a very cautious politician in an era that doesn't allow for much caution. And I think the other candidates who we had on the program actually do need to say, yeah, we've watched it and what we're learning from it. Matt Lewis and Donny Deutsch, thank you both very much for coming on the show this morning.
Did Destiny's Son just say that Hitler was a great guy? Yo, dude, yo, man, somebody's got to take care of that kid and get him off the internet, man. Jesus Christ, dude. If you have an underage child being groomed by Nazis, they need to be off the internet. This is child abuse, dude. What the fuck? He de-blocked him? He's his dad! You don't block your underage child. You take away their internet. You parent. What the fuck is happening? All right, chat. I think my brain is like gonna explode from hatred of centrist Democrats and how I'm completely proven right. I told you vote blue no matter who is literally just, it's a complete lie. If you bought vote blue no matter who, you're a dope. You got tricked. Also, chat, I want you to, I literally just said this at the beginning of the stream.
Needs to learn how to dog whistle. I'm serious. The left needs to learn how to dog whistle. I'm serious.
Dog whistle. Don't say the things that people that are not part of our community will be able to understand from a screenshot. Peepo smile. Be smarter. I'm gonna start banning people for longer and longer if they don't get this fucking very simple point. Elon decided to name drop you while promoting Hutch for his legal opinion, while at the same time he's promoting a conservative real estate lawyer who moved to Thailand. Sells a passports bureau service called Go East Gentlemen's and Myth of St. Floyd, justifying George Floyd's murder. What the fuck? Also, didn't Destiny's ex-orbiter say that I'm right? Didn't Pisco, who's a lawyer, and isn't he a Destiny orbiter, didn't he say I'm right about the lawsuit?